Summer bulk part 2. This is back day. And I know in the last video I said the next day after chest and shoulders would be legs, but I didn't record legs. And after that was arms, and I also didn't record arms. So we're almost back on a full cycle. Not the cycle I would like to be on, but still, this is back day. And the first exercise I'm going to start off with is not some random TikTok influencer pullover special cable variation. It's just good old lat pull downs. What I love to do best. So I'm warming up here with 160 pounds. Usually I'd warm up with like a reverse pec deck or like some pullovers. I actually think pullovers are like the best exercise to warm up for your back days, because it warms up the shoulder and obviously the lats and most of the back as well. Now, here, I'm not really warming up with the weight. It's not like I'm trying to get blood flow into the muscle. More, I'm just trying to expose myself to the weight. Because if you've ever lifted heavy weight, you know that immediately jumping to your top set makes it a lot more difficult than just working up to it by feeling out the other weights that come before it. So if my top set is going to be 260, which is the full stack, then I'm going to go with 160 at first and then 200 and then throw on the full stack. I actually did another set of 240 for like 2 reps just to feel that out, and then I put on 260. Now, what you're going to notice with my lat pull down form is it's not that good. It's absolutely appalling to most TikTokers and form specialists, but to be quite honest, I don't care. And for me, as I mentioned in the chest video, squeezing, contracting, slowing the eccentric for a lot of big movements like the lat pull down do not work for me. I don't get a good contraction. I don't feel it. It just feels like a huge waste of time on the set. So I throw on the full stack. I don't get to full extension because the stack is going to hit the bottom, and I pretty much just pull it until I can. I don't pull it to my chest. I don't think you need to pull it to your chest. And here I'm feeling a little weak today. So when you feel weak and you don't get the number of reps that you wanted, you do what I do here. You do a drop set. Let's say you're aiming for 10 reps and you get like 8, then you do a drop set, you get probably like 6 to 8 more reps, more time under tension, and the set is overall more worth it. Now, something that I did during this workout, or at least before the workout, that is a big oopsie, and that is something I talked about in a previous video, is eating a big meal before training. This really messed up the workout. What happens when you eat a big meal like I did is a lot of the blood pulls up in your stomach and tries to help out with the digestion. Now, this isn't the case when you eat something light, like 200 grams of rice with like 4 to 6 ounces of chicken. That isn't too heavy, but my dumbass went out with friends and had a fat burger and fries. And it definitely messed up the workout. I am not going to lie, this is one of the most mediocre pumps I've had in a long time, probably in the last month or two. But I mean, you're going to have workouts like that either way. Sometimes things are just going to get in the way. So noticing that the last set was absolutely trash form and that the weight was really heavy, I dropped it to 220, and 220 moved pretty well. I did a couple drop sets here. In total, I did 4 working sets for lat pull downs. I think 4 is good enough. I think overall in each workout, depending on your, how advanced you are in your training, I guess, I think 8 to 12 sets is like the best. It's like the sweet spot. Now, if you're a professional bodybuilder, obviously you're going to do things differently. But if you're like the usual gym bro, 8 to 12 sets per body part should be good. If you have a body part that is way above the rest, maybe keep it to 8 sets. And if you're doing a body part that you really want to grow, do 12 sets. For back, I like to do 12 sets. Not really because I'm like really trying to grow it. It's one of my better body parts. I do want to grow it still. But I mainly do 12 sets for back because I can, and it doesn't really hinder anything, and you can't really have too much back. And it's one of the biggest body parts, if not the biggest body part in your body. So I'm going to do 12 sets. So now that I've done a pull down, which people say is more for width, and that's debatable depending on how you do the movement. But in this case, yes, lat pull down for width. I do a row, a chest supported row to hit the mid part of my back. The traps, the rhomboids, the lower traps, everything good in there. Infraspinatus, all that crap. Now you're going to notice again, no full extension here. This is something I do with heavy weight. I don't focus too much on getting a stretch, getting a squeeze. I just move the heavy weight. This is what I do for a lot of my first and second sets of heavy movements. I don't really focus on form. And as you see here, I do a drop set again because I didn't get the reps that I wanted to get because my dumbass decided to eat a huge meal before the gym. So I was weaker and the pump was worse. And if your pump isn't the best, if your contraction isn't the best, drop sets will help that out a lot. As you can see, I am absolutely dying, and this is only the second exercise. After another set of 3 plates, I move on to 2 1/4 because I noticed that my strength is significantly dropping. Again, if you notice that you're not strong enough to lift a weight for more than like 6 to 8 reps, which is like the bare minimum I think you should do if you're trying to bodybuild, then just drop the weight. It is much more worth it to drop the weight and actually get a better contraction. You'll see on the last set, I focus a lot more on the squeeze and the tempo of the movement. That's because the weight is lighter, so I'm able to do that without sacrificing reps. Whereas with something heavier for me, like 3 plates on this machine, it is a lot heavier, it's a lot harder. So I just try and move the weight from point A to point B, which to me still gives me a good contraction. A lot of newbie lifters will not feel this movement in their backs because they have not developed the mind-muscle connection to actually feel it. That's why for a lot of beginners, it's recommended to do slow tempos, control, squeeze, stretch, all this stuff. And I highly do recommend that if you are a beginner. But if you're somewhat of an intermediate to an advanced lifter like I am, then just moving heavy weight from point A to point B will give you a great contraction, a great pump, and will lead to your workout being a lot better. It's all about combination here. So again, I'm not just going to do heavy weights and just throw them around for as many reps as I feel like doing. I do a few sets. I do a few sets of lower weight and more of a contraction focused set. As you'll see here, the tempo on 2 1/4 is a lot slower like I mentioned. And again, just because you're an advanced lifter doesn't mean you can just move heavy weight around. You do need to do this kind of training. And what I've learned from some people that are just bigger than me, have more experience than me, is that the slower and the more controlled the motion is, with more squeezing, more emphasis on the actual contraction, the more detail you build in the muscles. Now, this isn't something I've personally experienced too much yet myself, though I can apply it to certain aspects of my training. Like if you look at my legs, they don't have that much detail because I train them really heavy, and the same with my back. However, when I do end up focusing a little bit more on squeezing for different muscle groups, like for example, triceps, biceps, then you do see a lot of definition in those muscle groups. So I think that's just something interesting to think about. If you're really just trying to get huge, honestly, just focus on lifting heavy weights from 8 to 15 reps for the most part, obviously. But if you're really trying to define the muscle, you're trying to look toned, I guess you could say, then you do higher reps, more lactic acid buildup, better contraction. Back to the workout though, we're doing single arm cable pullovers. Now, this is an exercise I made fun of a lot back in the day, and that is because I saw it all over TikTok. I thought it was stupid, but then I tried it out and it actually felt really well. You'll notice that I kind of tilt to the side where I'm pulling. That's to get more of a lat contraction, to feel that squeeze down low. I don't pull it entirely because the way I pull is with my elbows, so really going down there just feels a little weird for me. Plus, I'm just doing heavy weight at this point, so it is much harder. But here's an angle from the back because a lot of things are great when done from the back. I throw in a little bit less weight, try and focus more on the squeeze, and it ends up giving me a little bit better pump. But again, it's not the best because I screwed up by eating a huge meal. I'm going to keep reiterating that because if you have not gotten the point of the video, don't eat a huge meal before your workout. But low-key, my back is looking huge. I didn't record all the sets. I think I did 2 on the cable pull downs. But here I'm going to cable rows. So you'll notice the theme. It's pull down row, pull down row. This should get me the 12 sets I'm looking for. But I'm also going to be doing rear delts after this. So here I have 180 pounds on. I feel like this is going to be a good weight, but I end up pulling it for like 15 reps. So I end up increasing it next set. I also end up changing the grip because I was looking for like the really wide grip I used for pull downs, but it wasn't available. So I picked this one and ended up being not the best. So I move on to everybody's favorite or least favorite grip, which is like the V grip or whatever you want to call it, the T-bar grip. I don't know what it's called. Everyone either loves this one or hates it. I think it's great, so I use it here. I put on 200 pounds, I do a drop set. Both of the 2 sets remaining here. That gives me 12 in total, with a lot of the sets being drop sets. If you're an advanced lifter, you want to incorporate drop sets, because if you don't, you're going to stay small. Again, my form isn't immaculate, like I'm swinging a little bit, but swinging is honestly better on this movement because you get a better stretch, so I don't care what you think. My phone was about to die here, so recording the reverse pec deck, I actually ended up doing 4 sets on this, but I only got 2. You'll say I got 165 pounds on here, which is pretty heavy. The angle is a little bit weird on this camera. I'm still trying to figure it out. But I get some pretty decent reps in here, get a good squeeze. Overall, better contraction, the rear delts and like the lats and the mid back today. Rear delts always get a good squeeze and contraction for me. Everybody says train your rear delts, they're neglected. I hope that because everyone said they're neglected, you don't neglect them anymore because they are actually really important. When you do a side chest, that rear delt is huge in the shot, so make sure you do not neglect it. Last set here from the back again, because we love hitting things from the back. A little bit less weight here, better contraction, better squeeze overall. And that is pretty much it for the workout. Now, today I didn't do calves because my calves were pretty beat up from the last 2 days of training them heavily. And I didn't get any posing footage. 1, because the contraction and the pump sucked. And 2, because my phone was at 2% and I didn't want to risk it dying. So that is it for the back day. And that is it for Summer Bulk Part 2. I hope it was informative to some degree, and I hope you enjoyed the video. That's it for me, though. I'm out. Time to get huge.